Picture a shadow creeping across a marble floor unseen, unbidden yet steadily staining its brilliance. So it is with the habits that cloak us in folly, their subtlety rendering them all the more perilous. The Stoics of ancient Greece, those austere architects of the soul like Epictetus and Seneca, saw foolishness not as a thunderous blunder, but as a quiet betrayal of reason, a dereliction of the logos that governs a life well lived. In our contemporary theater of excess, where the clamor of validation and the seduction of distraction reign, these veiled vices thrive. They are the unnoticed gestures, the restless grasping, the muted rancor, the squandered hours that erode the edifice of our virtue. What if the very patterns you scarcely question are the threads unraveling your claim to wisdom? In this exploration, we unveil 6 clandestine habits that diminish you, drawing from the Stoic crucible to illuminate their modern guises. This is no mere discourse. It is an invitation to peer into the recesses of your conduct and emerge resolute. Join us as we traverse this ancient wisdom, recast for a world adrift, and seek the clarity that foolishness obscures. Habit 1. Clinging to what you cannot control. Imagine a man standing at the edge of a storm-swept sea, fists clenched, shouting at the waves to retreat. The tide rises, heedless of his fury, and he's left drenched, exhausted and no less powerless. This is the quiet absurdity of clinging to what you cannot control, a habit the Stoics saw as the root of so much human folly. Epictetus, the former slave turned philosopher, put it plainly, there is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Yet how often do we ignore this? Picture yourself scrolling through your phone, heart-sinking as a post you poured hours into gets 3 likes, or replaying a coworker's snide remark, letting it fester like a splinter in your mind. These are modern storms, wild, unpredictable, and utterly beyond your grasp. The Stoics would ask, why do you surrender your peace to them? Reason, they argued, is our compass. It tells us our power ends where the external begins, others' thoughts, the weather, even tomorrow's uncertainties. To cling is to wrestle shadows, a fight you'll never win. Take Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, who faced betrayals, plagues, and endless wars. He could command legions, but not the hearts of men or the whims of fate. So he wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Strength, not in bending the world to your will, but in standing unshaken when it refuses." Today we chase likes, fume at traffic, or stew over opinions we'll never sway. Each time we look foolish, not because we fail, but because we think we can dictate the uncontrollable. Ask yourself, when was the last time you let something beyond your reach steal your calm? Maybe it's a delayed flight, a stranger's judgment, or a market crash. The Stoics didn't deny these things, they denied them dominion. Epictetus taught us to examine our impressions. Is this mine to fix? If not, let it pass like a cloud. The fool rages at the sky. The wise man adjusts his cloak and walks on. This habit isn't loud, it's a subtle leak, draining your dignity drop by drop. The world sees a man scrambling to cage the wind, while inside, you feel the weight of a battle you've already lost. Freedom lies in release. Focus on your choices, your resolve, your next step. That's where wisdom lives. But what happens when we turn from battling externals to chasing shadows of a different kind, empty pleasures that promise joy but deliver chains? That's the next habit we'll unravel. One that lures us with sweetness only to leave us hollow. Stay with me as we peel back its disguise. Habit 2. Chasing fleeting pleasures. Imagine a child darting after a butterfly, hands outstretched, eyes wide with delight. The creature flutters just beyond reach, and in his chase he stumbles, muddying his clothes and scraping his knees. The butterfly escapes and the joy fades to frustration. This is the dance of chasing fleeting pleasures, a habit the Stoics deemed a gilded trap. Seneca, the Roman sage, warned, "We are attracted by those things that will ruin us. We run eagerly toward what will harm us, yet how easily we sprint into that snare." Think of the last time you sank into a Netflix binge, hours blurring into a haze of snacks and screen glow, or the thrill of a sale, swiping your card for a gadget you'll forget by next month. These are today's butterflies, shimmering, brief, and hollow. The Stoics saw pleasure as a guest, not a master. Indulgence, they argued, enslaves us to appetite, pulling us from reason's steady path. A life spent chasing what fades leaves you not enriched, but diminished, a fool clutching at smoke. Seneca knew this well. Surrounded by Rome's excesses, banquets, wine, fleeting fame, he urged restraint. What need is there to weep over parts of life he wrote. The whole of it calls for tears. He meant this. Why waste yourself on scraps when virtue offers a feast that endures? Today we scroll for dopamine hits, refresh for praise, or drown in comforts that dissolve by morning. The world watches a man racing after mirages, mistaking motion for meaning. Ask yourself, what pleasure have you chased that left you emptier than before? A late-night scroll? A reckless splurge? The Stoics didn't despise joy, they scorned its counterfeit. True contentment, they taught, blooms from within, from living aligned with nature and reason, not from grasping at shadows that vanish. Epictetus would press you. Does this serve your soul or just your senses? If it's the latter, you've traded gold for glitter. This habit whispers promises it can't keep, dressing folly in the guise of fun. You look foolish not because you seek happiness, but because you seek it where it isn't. Wisdom lies in pausing, letting the butterfly flit by, and turning to what lasts, a clear mind, a steady purpose. The chase exhausts, stillness restores. But what if the exhaustion doesn't end with pleasure's fade? What if it festers into something darker? Like the grudges we nurse over slights we should release? That's the next habit we'll confront, one that binds us to pain long after the moment passes. Join me as we uncover how resentment turns us into our own jailers. Habit 3. Nursing petty resentments. Imagine a man clutching a jagged stone, its edges cutting into his palm. He grips it tighter, blood seeping. Not because it comforts him, but because he can't bear to let it go. This is the strange burden of nursing. Petty resentments, a habit that wounds the holder more than the hated. Marcus Aurelius, Rome's philosopher king, saw anger as a crack in the soul's armor. You will pay, he wrote, for every moment you give to indignation with fewer moments of peace. Yet how often do we cradle these thorns? Think of the last time a friend's offhand comment stung, or a stranger cut you off in traffic, and you replayed it for hours, stoking the ember into a blaze. These are today's trivial slights, fleeting, petty, yet we nurse them like treasures. The Stoics knew resentment as a thief, stealing the one thing truly ours, our tranquility. Marcus, amid betrayals and wars, chose forgiveness not for others but for himself. The best revenge, he said, is to be unlike him who performed the injury. To cling is to mirror the fool who wronged you. Picture this, you're simmering over a coworker's snarky email, drafting replies in your head, each word a fresh cut to your calm. The world sees a man tethered to a moment others have forgotten, small-minded, fragile, unmoored. The Stoics would ask, why let a speck of dust cloud your sky? Reason demands we release what's done. Epictetus taught that no one can harm your will unless you permit it. So why hand them the dagger of your anger? Ask yourself, what grudge have you nursed that gained you nothing but scars? A sibling's old slight? A stranger's rudeness? Marcus urged us to see others as fallible like us stumbling through life. Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself, he advised. Resentment paints you as petty, because it is petty, a refusal to rise above the trivial. Wisdom lies in dropping the stone, not polishing it. This habit festers silently, shrinking your spirit while you think it shields you. You look foolish not for feeling the sting, but for tending it long after it's gone. Freedom comes in letting go, seeing the slight for what it is, a fleeting shadow. Not your chain. But what if the shadow isn't just a moment's anger, but a mind scattered across a dozen fleeting cares? That's the next habit we'll probe, one that frays your focus and leaves you adrift. Stay with me as we explore how distraction turns clarity into chaos. Habit 4. Scattering your focus. Imagine a sculptor poised before a block of marble, chisel in hand, ready to carve a masterpiece. But instead of striking true, he flits from one corner to another, chipping here, tapping there, until the stone is a mess of shallow scars. This is the folly of scattering your focus, a habit the Stoics saw as a betrayal of reason's promise. Epictetus taught that the mind, like a tool, must be wielded with purpose. Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. Yet how often do we splinter ourselves across a dozen fleeting cares? Picture your day. You're writing an email, but your phone buzzes, a text, a news alert, a quick scroll. 10 minutes later, the email's half finished, your thoughts a tangle. This is modernity's siren song. Multitasking, notifications. The myth of doing more by splitting yourself thin. The Stoics revered presence. Seneca called time our most precious coin spent only once. To scatter it is to squander it, leaving you not masterful, but muddled. A fool juggling air while the real work lies undone. Marcus Aurelius ruling an empire, still carved out moments to think, to write, to focus. Concentrate every minute like a Roman, he urged, on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness. Contrast that with us, earbuds in, screens flashing, chasing 10 tasks and mastering none. The world sees a man darting like a startled bird, restless, ungrounded. The Stoics would ask, where is your logos, your guiding reason? When your mind is a storm of half-formed thoughts, ask yourself, when did you last finish something without a dozen detours? A conversation interrupted by a ping? A goal lost to distraction's pull? Seneca warned, to be everywhere is to be nowhere. Focus isn't just efficiency, it's sovereignty over yourself. The fool flits. The wise man plants his feet and builds. Scatter your mind and you scatter your dignity. This habit creeps in quietly, cloaking chaos as progress. You look foolish not for being busy, but for being busy with nothing to show. Mastery demands a steady gaze, picking one thing and seeing it through. The Stoics knew a divided mind yields a divided life. But what if this division isn't just in tasks, but in seeking worth from voices beyond your own? That's the next habit we'll unravel. One where we trade inner strength for borrowed praise. Join me as we expose how chasing validation twists us into shadows of ourselves. Habit 5. Seeking validation from others. Imagine a man standing before a crowd, his every gesture a plea. Applaud me. Admire me, tell me I'm enough. The cheers come, but when they fade, he's left hollow, scanning for the next nod of approval. This is the subtle snare of seeking validation from others, a habit the Stoics deemed a surrender of the self. Epictetus, the unshackled philosopher, declared, you are a little soul carrying around a corpse, what meaning your worth lies within, not in the fickle voices outside. Yet how often do we bow to that chorus? Think of the last time you angled a selfie just so, waiting for likes to trickle in, or flexed a promotion not for pride but for praise. These are modern altars, social media, water cooler chatter, where we offer ourselves up for judgment. The Stoics saw this as folly. True dignity, they taught, is self-forged, rooted in virtue, not borrowed from applause. Seneca wrote, why do you seek the approval of those who do not approve of themselves? To chase it is to hand your peace to a jury that shifts with the wind. Marcus Aurelius, atop Rome's throne, faced flattery and scorn alike. Yet he reminded himself, I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion. Today we fish for compliments, measure our lives by retweets, and bend to fit others' molds. The world sees a man swaying like a reed, unsteady, brittle, a fool tethered to shadows he can't hold. Ask yourself, when did you last crave a nod that left you no richer? A co-worker's pat, a stranger's glance. The Stoics urged us to judge ourselves by reason's mirror, not the crowd's. Epictetus would press, why let another's whim define you when you can define yourself? Validation from within, through courage, temperance, justice, stands firm. From without it crumbles like sand. This habit whispers that you're only as good as others say. You look foolish not for wanting love, but for seeking it where it's loaned, not given. Freedom lies in turning inward, building a soul that needs no echo to stand tall. But what if this outward gaze blinds us to our own drift? What if we stop asking who we even are? That's the next habit we'll face, neglecting the reflection that keeps us true. Stay with me as we uncover how failing to look within leaves us lost without. Habit 6. Neglecting daily reflection. Imagine a captain steering a ship through fog, his compass untouched, his maps unopened. The stars offer guidance, but he sails blind, trusting luck over deliberation, until the rocks loom too late. This is the quiet ruin of neglecting daily reflection, a habit the Stoics saw as abandoning the helm of your soul. Seneca, the statesman-philosopher, insisted, we must examine ourselves each day, otherwise we wander aimlessly. Yet how often do we drift through life unmoored and unchecked? Picture your day. You rush from alarm to inbox, tasks piling like waves, then collapse into bed, the hours a blur. No pause to ask, what did I do well? Where did I falter? This is modernity's undertow, busyness masquerading as purpose. The Stoics made reflection a ritual. Marcus Aurelius, amid empire's chaos, wrote nightly, probing his deeds against virtue's measure. Ask yourself at every moment, he urged, is this necessary? Without it, we're puppets of habit, blind to the foolishness we repeat. Think of the last time you snapped in anger or chased a distraction, only to shrug it off as just how it goes. The world sees a man adrift, unsteady, unaware, because he never stops to steer. Seneca warned, "No one can live happily who has regard only to himself and turns everything to his own advantage." Reflection isn't self-obsession. It's self-command. It's the lantern that reveals where passion overruled reason, where you strayed from the good. Ask yourself, when did you last sit with your thoughts? Not to scroll or stew, but to sift them. A day unexamined is a day ungoverned. Epictetus taught that impressions flood us, anger, desire, fear, but only reflection sorts truth from noise. Neglect it and you're a traveler with no map, stumbling into the same traps, looking foolish not for your missteps, but for never learning from them. This habit dims silently, cloaking drift as motion. You erode not by acting, but by not questioning. Wisdom demands a mirror daily, unflinching, asking, "Am I closer to the man I mean to be?" The Stoics knew a life unreflected is a life half-lived. So we've charted 6 habits: control, pleasure, resentment, focus, validation, and now reflection, each a shadow on your path. But what ties them? They're not just flaws. They're chances to reclaim your reason, to sculpt a life that stands firm. Stay with me as we weave these threads into a final call. How to turn folly into strength, starting today. Picture a mosaic, each tile a choice, a habit, a moment. Alone, they're mere fragments. Together, they form the portrait of your life. We've uncovered 6 habits that secretly make you look foolish. Clinging to what you can't control, chasing fleeting pleasures, nursing petty resentments, scattering your focus, seeking validation from others, and neglecting daily reflection. The Stoics, Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, saw these as cracks in the soul, subtle drifts from reason that dim our light. But here's their gift: every crack is a chance to mend, every misstep a step toward wisdom. These aren't just ancient warnings. They're mirrors for today. The likes we chase, the grudges we hold, the days we blur through. They don't just fool the world. They fool us, pulling us from eudaimonia, the flourishing life the Stoics prized. Yet the path back is simple, not easy. Release what's beyond you, savor what lasts. Forgive the trivial, focus fiercely, root your worth within, and reflect relentlessly. This isn't perfection, it's practice. Marcus wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Foolishness isn't your fate. It's your forge." So here's your call. Start tonight. Take 10 minutes, grab a journal, a quiet corner, and ask, where did I stray today? Where did I stand firm? Write it down. Let Seneca's rigor, Epictetus's clarity, and Marcus's resolve guide you. Then tomorrow pick one habit, say letting go of a grudge, and act. Small steps compound. Subscribe for more Stoic tools to sharpen your mind. And share this with someone who'd rise with you. The world's chaos won't bend, but you can. Stop looking foolish to yourself. Begin now, because a life unclaimed is a life unlived. Wisdom waits.